We're
Great.
live.
All right. Well, hello. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, my name is Devin Shears. I'm the Director of Programming Communications for the Nickel Film Festival. And welcome to the first day of the festival. And with that, the first day of the festival, we're back in my cozy winter chalet. A little upgrade from last year, I think. Nice big bay windows. Because we're once again online, we are going to be talking with some selection of filmmakers every day from today, the 19th, to the end of the festival, the 25th. I am joined by the executive director, Elling Lien. Hello, Elling.
Hi, Dev. What's up?
Not much.
I love seeing you in the winter chalet.
I love being back in the winter chalet.
In July.
It's very warm here today. In St. John, so I'm happy to be in this nice, cozy, cool room. Anyways, before we start talking to some filmmakers behind one of the films we have on today, I'm going to quickly run through what we have on offer today. If you're watching this, and just also to give people a chance to come in. So we have two programs up today. The first one has The Lighthouse Man, but directed by Matt Walton. It's a short animated film. The Face of a City, a documentary by Farad Pakdil. Crush by local filmmaker Carrie Gamberg. Prey, a very beautiful short animated piece by Joe Chang. In Plain Air from Miranda Bellamy in New Zealand, which is a documentary about artist Pauline Bellamy. Moondrops, a sort of fantastical Israeli film directed by Yoram Ever Hadani. And Stand for Hannah by Nickel founder Roger Monder, which is a very, very heartbreaking documentary, but I think something I would recommend everyone go check out. And our second program, which kind of focuses more on experimental films, we have Nuovo Cinema Paravirus by Daniele Pignatelli. Apologies for mangling the Italian there. Calamus by local filmmaker Kenneth J. Harvey. The Uninhabitable Ones by Anderson Bardot, a fabulous dance film. Really recommend people checking that out. A Golden Voice by Patrick Shannon and Jen Strom, who we're going to be talking to in a minute. Earnest Instruction by local filmmaker Jake Delaney. Love, directed by Andrea Ashton. 4 Parts, another dance film directed by local choreographer Lynn Panting. Emu Coalescence from local director David Downton. Letter to My Mother by Amina Mar. And Nothing Happened, directed by Himanshu Mitro Mandal. So that's a lot of films, because we have a lot of films this year, over 100. They're all free to go watch right now, and I would encourage people to go to nickelfestival.com to check all of those out, because they're really good. So, anything you want to add, Ellie?
No. I watched all of the programming this morning, and my head is spinning. Between the two programs, they're quite different. The more experimental one, the second selection is just kind of blew me away in so many different ways. So if you're into exploring that, go for it. I love that. And also, yeah, Stand for Hannah is a really moving local feature or 45-minute doc about the death of a young girl in Newfoundland due to street racing.
Yes, so encourage people to go check those out. And like I said, every day we're going to have some conversations with the filmmakers. Today we're just speaking to one filmmaking team behind the film A Golden Voice. We're speaking with Patrick Shannon and Jen Strom. Hello, Patrick and Jen.
Good morning or afternoon.
Hi, guys.
So grateful for you guys for joining us today. Just have a few questions for you. If anyone's watching and has a question they want to throw it in the Facebook chat, I believe Elling will be taking a look at that, and
I'll be checking it out. I'll bring it out at a good moment.
Perfect. So maybe one of you, maybe Patrick, wants to talk a little bit just about what the film is about.
Yeah, so the film is about a famed Haida carver. And it's about this voice, this amazing voice of Bill Reid, who was a clan member of mine up from Haida Gwaii, who was someone who was born of Haida ancestry, a local First Nation group on the northwest coast of BC, and just trying to tell the story, this journey of cultural rediscovery, of art, of cultures coming together through this artist and his own particular voice, and told in a way that is told through the voices of family, through friends, through apprentices, and really tries to get at the why or understanding behind this person, because the artists themselves had passed back in the 1990s. So it's a beautiful kind of exploration of this person's career and life through art.
Yeah, and I will say there's some really beautiful images in it. Jen, maybe you can speak to what brought you two together to work on this film. How did the collaboration come about?
Patrick has really excellent SEO. I googled hi to filmmakers, and he has an amazing website. And I just like literally, because Patrick is so good at putting out into the world what he does, which is many different forms of social entrepreneurship and advocacy for Haida voice in general, and also his beautiful photography and filmmaking. It was like an instant online crush, and I was like, oh my gosh, he was this amazing filmmaker. I wonder if he'd collaborate with me. And then I wrote him, and I was so fortunate that he responded. And we had this, we had a long distance process, basically making this film over about the course of about 14 months, which is kind of crazy because it's a 5-minute film. But it was a very slow process that finished during the pandemic, actually. With at that time, right now, I'm not sure. I think we're both right now on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations in Vancouver, BC. And at that time, Pat, are you still here?
Oh, I just got back up to Haida.
Okay.
So I'm on my unceded territories.
Okay. So yeah, Patrick was kind of working all over the place. He'd fly into Vancouver, we'd shoot some things, we'd have some meetings. So it was a great, long, very rich collaboration, I would say. We really took our time crafting this piece.
Yeah, and I'm really interested to hear about the ways the film was crafted. There's such a reverence paid to these works that are kind of used to visualize the life of Bill Reid. And I noticed in the credits that Patrick, you're credited as a cinematographer, and Jen, you as a editor and visual effects artist. I'm just wondering if you could talk a little bit about what went into sort of creating these images.
Mm-hmm. For me, I've always been a visual person. Being raised in my remote reserve here, art is, in particular, this type of art, Northwest Coast form line and jewelry. Everything we see in this film is something that I was raised with from a young age. So it's something that was just, it's inherent to all Haidas. Like we could draw an ovoid and a bunch of our form line shapes with our eyes closed. It's one of those things where we have such a deep understanding of it. But what I really loved and appreciated was working with Jen in this, because she was able to take a fresh kind of look and made me really appreciate to a great further degree what our own art style is and how special it is, how it evolved over the course of thousands of years. And then especially Jen's approach to this, because for me, I'm a very run and gun filmmaker. I'm someone who typically doesn't have a lot of patience and used to working fast. And then Jen just brought a thoughtfulness to the entire process and a level of planning, which it was really amazing to work with her and just see how much work and effort went into every single shot and just the planning process. And so Jen coordinated all of the shoots and essentially would sometimes just set me loose with my camera just to grab some shots. But so many of them were just meticulously planned, renting space in particular buildings, getting access to local museums and art galleries and those relationships, because Jen also produced it. So she did so much work to build those relationships to get access, which is, you know, what I learned, one of the most difficult parts of this whole process there.
Yeah, Jen, do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, it was a real honor to get. By the way, I don't know if we said the name of the artist who is featured in the film. This is a film about the artist Bill Reid, who is a really famous artist in Canada nationally. He was a goldsmith and a jeweler, and he also he's known as a lot was written about him long before we ever made this film. There's many books about him, and one of the things that's said is that he would do things that were I don't think minuscule is the word, but very, very small, all the way through to these monumental sculptures. So there's several very large, very famous, really, really big sculptures of his work as well. And so we were working with the Museum of Anthropology, the Vancouver Art Gallery, the Bill Reid Gallery, lots of different galleries to coordinate with. And that was a real honor because we focused a lot in this work on his gold pieces. He also had a career in radio and had this incredible voice, and really his voice as a visual artist, and then his literal voice as somebody who at the time was really an advocate, I believe, for the Haida art form and the Haida culture at a time when it was not as well known as it is now. So there's a double, and he really just had this incredible deep voice, and he did a lot of radio hosting, and some of the golden works of art, of jewelry, had been behind alarmed glass for years and years and years. And so negotiating with the galleries and the museums about getting these pieces out, and who, it was all very carefully handled. All the props had to be frozen for 2 weeks before we could even bring them into the room, because
Whoa.
I know, it's crazy. They had huge walk-in freezers. So that was an unanticipated amount of, the pieces couldn't touch anything, right? So, you have these concepts of what you might want to do with these beautiful little, they're really like characters, these beautiful, often animals that he had made out of gold. And a lot of them were interpretations of Haida tattoos that were recorded about 100 years earlier in books. So yeah, that was a real honor, and it was quite thrilling by the time the pieces came out, and we got to meet these little characters. So
yeah, well, and I mean, because they make up the majority of the images of the film, there's no talking heads, or you don't see anyone speaking. It's entirely centered around the art, and you get so much of him and who he was through the art, and the interviews with his granddaughter, I believe, is one of the people who speaks very prominently in the film. Maybe you could just talk a little bit. What do you hope people take away about? He's obviously, like you said, like a pretty highly regarded, iconic Canadian artist. What do you hope people take away from him after seeing this documentary?
Yeah, it's something that, even though he was a family member of mine, he passed away in the 90s. So I feel like a whole generation, of course, we know of him. I met him when I was younger, but so many of us, especially as Haida people, I can speak especially to the local Haida context. It really instills us with a lot of pride, because so much of our visibility has been erased in so many ways, and our art has been the one thing that has persevered through so much of this, that has really shown us that we are still here, and the fact that people are wanting to learn about this and learn about the people behind it. I think that's absolutely huge. And honestly, the takeaway that I hope for, even just for our community here, is to have a refreshed and reinvigorated relationship with Bill Reid, and our connection with him and everything that he represents and brings to the outside world, because that's a big thing when you're in a remote community and you focus so much on the work that you do, but then it's all about getting the support beyond that, especially when it comes to larger initiatives. Bill Reid was somewhat of an activist and an advocate environmentally, culturally, and this is a continued journey, which I really hope can gain more momentum from having that appreciation relationship built through these images, through these stories, by learning who this person is through their work. And hopefully that can inspire more people to learn and more people to want to, support these same types of movements.
Yeah, very well said. Elling, please.
I found the film very, like, really inspiring. Like, his story, like, I of course have seen his work before, but I don't actually know much about him as a person. And this, even though it was very short, it gave me the sense that he was, rediscovering his own heritage and identity, and injecting it with his love of new ideas and making it new. And I feel like it's just such an amazing message for all time, but especially now, I guess, for Indigenous folks, I guess.
It's huge, because so many of us struggle with our identity and identity rediscovery, especially if you've been raised out of community or if you're of mixed ancestry. There's just a lot in play right now. And I think what this really does is show that you can still be someone who doesn't know much about your culture. You might not know your cultural songs or your language, but it doesn't stop you from being able to make a positive impact for your community. And I think that's a really great thing to recognize about this person. Hopefully that comes out through this film.
I love that he had to kind of find these images in books. Like, he didn't like, where he modeled this work from books that he discovered, and so then it wasn't part of his memory, I guess, but he just would take that, and yeah, it's just really kind of exciting, I feel.
Yeah,
he had that thread of a connection to seeing some of his Charles Edenshaw, his great uncle's carvings that were the original kind of thing that charmed him or made him he was in a totally different career, and he saw these things and felt called, I guess you could say. Like, really called over a vast distance to understand and learn and become what his ancestors had been, and become a jewelry maker and learn this culture that he didn't really know anything about because of the history of residential school. He had not grown up in that culture. So yeah, that, and then learning through books and museums and kind of really more the like Western colonial world's view of what Haida culture was, and then also traveling to the island and kind of merging those forms of knowledge together, and it became somebody who really helped amplify and maybe change some of those books, what was in the textbooks or what was in the museums.
Yeah, that's so beautifully put. It's a really gorgeous film. I think we'll probably wrap up here in a moment. Just curious what you've both been up to. Since you said you finished this over COVID, any more you managed to work on anything else in this past, how long has it been? Like 30 years, something like that? Yeah. Well, what have you been working on?
I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I'm currently working on a couple of feature films right now. Got funding for a Haida basketball documentary that we're currently in development of, which is really exciting. It's about basketball on Haida Gwaii and how the All Native, which is actually the largest Indigenous gathering in Canada, which is a massive tournament where thousands of Indigenous people from all across the West Coast come to play basketball. So I'm working on that scripted narrative, and I just launched an Indigenous modeling agency about a month and a half ago. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, wild things from different areas, all just kind of happening at once, but all kind of working together.
That's amazing.
The modeling agency is called Supernaturals, right?
Yes, Supernaturals model.
Oh, sick. That's awesome.
If anyone's watching, he's a model. Jen.
I'm really fortunate to be directing my first feature documentary about another BC artist, which involves a bit of travel. It's kind of like an arts bio meets BC travel film. because this particular artist painted BC, like all over the province. So he's a little bit maybe comparable to David Blackwood for you guys.
Sure.
And yeah, otherwise I work a lot as an editor and as an animator, so I'm working on other people's films right now. I've been very lucky to keep busy with lots of great creative projects over the last year, working at home. You know, editors' jobs don't change that much in a pandemic. We're still locked in a room by ourselves either way. So.
Well, that's fabulous. Well, again, thank you so much for joining me today. Please, if you're watching this, go watch their film for free. It's in our experimental program along with some other incredible films from Newfoundland, but also internationally. I really encourage everyone to go check it out. There's lots of great stuff, but this is definitely one of the programs I've been super excited about to share with people in this festival. So yes, thank you both for chatting today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it.
We hope to get you out here and for a future festival one day.
Yes, one of these days. All right, well, and thank you all for watching. We'll be back tomorrow and until the end of the festival on Sunday, every day with the fireside chats back here in the winter chalet in the summertime. Wintertime, summertime chalet.
Never gets old.
It never gets well. I mean, it probably does for other people, but I find it delightful. Thanks, everybody.
Well, thank you.